All right, this lecture is about the metric system and looking at different metric prefixes and how to do dimensional analysis, which is a fancy term for converting from one unit to another unit using conversion factors. So here we have over on the right a chart that will be very useful. You will have available for any quizzes, assignments, proving grounds, anything. This is showing us how to convert meters, grams, liters, seconds, any form of our metric units. Now, this shows us the easiest way for me to explain what this is showing is that for every 1 kilometer, let's just use meters for example, for every 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So over on the right side, these are our bases. We'll write bases. And by base, I mean meters, grams, liters, seconds. These are our base units. 1 megameter is 1,000,000 meters, like the mega millions. 1 centimeter, if I go down here, 1 centimeter is equal to 100th of a meter. So if you think of a meter stick, a centimeter is just a small little piece, right, of 1 meter. So it would take 100 centimeters to equal 1 meter. But if I said, like over here, if I said 1 centimeter is 100th of a meter. Now, let's look at unit sizes. I really like this explanation. So if I said I have a big number, then that means that my unit is little. So for example, if I'm looking at 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters down here, which one is my bigger number, 1 or 1,000? Definitely this 1,000. So I have a big number, but I have a small unit. Meters are much smaller than kilometers. Obviously, if I need 1,000 meters to equal 1 kilometer, right, then meters are small. So big number means a little unit. And if I have a little number, like my 1 is a little number compared to 1,000, then my unit is big. Kilometers is big. Okay, so now once I know this comparison, this two quantities that are equal to one another, I can then write a unit factor. So I can say, okay, well, 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. I could also say, I'm going to say, or 1,000 meters are in 1 kilometer. So these are the same thing, just flip-flop, just reciprocals of one another. Okay, so like I said, if I have 1 centimeter down here, 1 centimeter we said was equal to 0.01 meters. So I have 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. Which one is the bigger number, 1 or 0.01? Obviously this one, right? Big number, little unit. Centimeters are little, right? Compared to a meter, centimeters are small. There's a lot of centimeters in 1 meter, 100, right? Now, little number like 0.01 is definitely a much smaller number compared to 1, which means that my meters is the much larger unit. So if I said, which one is larger, centimeters or meters? Well, we could look at this and say, well, meters is definitely the larger unit. So again, I can take this and I can write 2 equivalent quantities knowing that these equal each other. I can say 1 centimeter over 0.01 meters, or I can say 0.01 meters over 1 centimeter. Okay, so knowing those unit factors, we can do what's called dimensional analysis. So if I said, I need to find the mass in grams of a 325 milligram aspirin tablet, how would I go about doing that? Well, we always start with what we're given. I would say, okay, I'm starting with 325 milligrams. Okay. Now I need to know the conversion factor to get from milligrams to grams. So I'm going to look over here and go milli. All right, here's my milli. Well, I know that my conversion factor is 1 milligram, right? 1 milligram is equal to, I'm going to go over here, 0.001 grams. Now, what we said in this previous slide is I can make that conversion factor. I can write a fraction. I can write it 1 mg over 0.001 grams, or I can say 0.001 grams over 1 milligram. Now, how do I know which one I want to use? Well, if I look back at my problem, I have to get rid of milligrams. So the only way to get rid of milligrams is to divide by it. Have my units diagonal from one another so they cancel out. So I also like to say, when you set this up, it's what you want over what you got. So what do I want? My problem tells me that I want grams. What have I got? What am I starting with? Is milligrams. So I need the conversion factor over here that has grams on top and milligrams on the bottom, which would be this guy. So I'm going to use 0.001 grams over 1 milligram. Okay, so milligrams and milligrams will cancel. So when I do 325 times 0.01, you should get 0.325 grams. Okay, and that would be my answer. So using that same technique, I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to solve these problems. So if I have 1 meter, how many millimeters is that equal to? So if you want to pause, then we will work through this in just a second. Okay, so let's see where you are. I'm going to set this up and say 1 meter. What do I want? Millimeters. Oops. What have I got? Meters. Okay, so I need the conversion factor. I need to find milli, which is down here. I'm going to say 1 millimeter, 1 would be right there, is equal to 0.001 meters. All right, so now we just need to plug and chug. I'm going to do 1 times 1 divided by 0.001 to get 1,000. Okay, so that's the first one. Next one, I'm going to say 3.2 meters. I want to get to centimeters. What do I want? Centimeters. What have I got? Meters. Okay, we need to find the centimeters to meters conversion. So let's find centa right here. So we know 1 centimeter, and my centimeters is on top or bottom? Top. 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. So I'm just going to do 3.2 times 1 divided by 0.01 to get 320 centimeters. And again, meters and meters would cancel out. The third one, 8.75 seconds. What do I want? I want milliseconds. What have I got? I've got seconds. So I'm going to go back to milli. We said right here that we knew that 1 millisecond was 0.001 seconds. So you're just plugging it into your calculator again. 8.75 divided by 0.001 to get 8,750 milliseconds. Seconds and seconds cancel out. Okay, I want you to try, check those last 3. This last one is a little bit tricky because I'm going from prefix to prefix. What my suggestion is to go back to your base first. So if I'm going from gigabytes to megabytes, I would go from gigabytes to bytes bytes to megabytes. So if I were to set up this last one, I would say 1.5. Okay, so what do I want to get to before I get to my end product? I want to get to just my base. What have I got? So I'm going to go, okay, giga. For 1 giga is 1 times 10 to the 9th. Bases. Now I'm going to do, so that gets rid of my giga. Now I'm left with just my bytes. What do I really want to get to? I want to get to megabytes, and I've got bytes. So I'm going to find mega. Yep, for 1 mega, I have 1,000,000, or 1 times 10 to the 6th. That gets rid of my b's, and I'll be left with that. So now to solve this, I'm going to multiply all across. So 1.5 times 1 times 10 to the 9th, that's a 9, times 1, all divided by 1 times 10 to the 6th to solve that one. And you should get 1,500, right? 1,500 megabytes. Okay, hopefully that's starting to make sense. Now, in science, we regularly are looking at the metric system, but in everyday usage, we're definitely more familiar with inches, yards, pounds, ounces, quarts, if you're a canner. And so here are some metric and English conversion factors. So what's equivalent to each other by means of length, mass, and volume. You would be given this on any kind of, again, just like the metric, you'd be given this. You just need to know how to use it. So if I said, how would I convert, given that I have 12 fluid ounces? What is that volume in milliliters? So I'm going to set it up the same way, and I'm going to start with what I'm given, 12.0 fluid ounces. What do I want? I want to get to milliliters. But if I look at my fluid ounces down here, fluid ounces, the only conversion factor I'm given goes from fluid ounces to quarts. Well, that's not what it asks for. It asks for milliliters. But if I look over here, I can go from quarts to milliliters. So this is going to be a two-step problem, similar to that last one that we did. So I need to set up and say, okay, fluid ounces and quarts, we're going to use that as my first one. What do I need on the top and the bottom? Well, if I'm starting with fluid ounces, I got to have my fluid ounces down here. And it tells me that 32 fluid ounces is equal to 1 quart. Okay, so that gets rid of my fluid ounces. Now I need to go from quarts to milliliters. What goes where as far as units? Well, I have quarts on top, so I got to have quarts on the bottom. And what do I want? I want milliliters. So remember, it's what you want over what you got. So I'm going to look at this and say, well, 1 quart, so my 1 quart is right there, is 946 milliliters. So that gets rid of my quarts. I'll end up with mLs. So now we just need to multiply and do 12 times 94 divided by 32 to get 35.25 milliliters. All right, here's another one. If I said the length of an American football field is 120 yards, what is that length in meters? So again, I'm starting with 120 yards. When I set up this conversion factor, I got to have yards down at the bottom so that the yards and yards cancel, meters on top. And I'm going to look up here and I'm going to see that 1 meter is equal to 1.0936 yards. So when I have I got to look at where's my meter? 1 meter's on top. My yards are on the bottom. And then I'm just going to multiply across, divide going down, and get 110 meters. So you try working this one out. Which race is shorter, 100 meters or 100 yards? Pause the video and see what you get. All right, so in my calculations, let's say I have a 100-meter dash. If I have a 100-yard dash, a 100-yard dash up here just showed me that that's 91.4 meters. So which is shorter, 100 meters or 91.4 meters? Definitely this guy. So 100-yard dash is the shorter race. Now going back to that, when I said if we had a big number, it was a little unit, and a small number with a big unit. So let's look at that and look at my inches and centimeters as an example. If I said, which unit is bigger, inches or centimeters? Well, we can look at, well, which one is my bigger number? Is 1 bigger or is 2.54 bigger? 2.54 is bigger, right? So 2 centimeters would be a littler unit. My 1 inch, 1 is smaller than 2.54, so that smaller number would be my 1, which means it's a bigger unit. Obviously, it takes a little more than 2.5 centimeters to equal 1 inch. So there's many centimeters in 1 inch. So inch is my bigger unit. And we can do that for all of these. If I said miles and kilometers, hopefully you have a little visual. If I said I'm going to go run a 5K, a 5-kilometer race, 5-kilometer race is 3.1 miles. So even though I'm giving you these numbers, we can also say that 5 kilometers is equal to 3.1 miles. Okay, it's the same as what I gave you. We're just using different numbers. So which one is the bigger number? Bigger number is 5 or 3.1? Yeah, definitely 5. So that is my smaller unit. Smaller number is 3.1, so a bigger unit. So miles are my bigger unit. There's more kilometers to, it takes more kilometers to equal a mile. So try this one. I want you to convert 34 inches to centimeters using this conversion factor, knowing that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. If you want to pause the video and check to see if you got the same answer by setting it up. Starting with inches. Inches and inches need to cancel, so I need to have my 1 inch on the bottom, 2.54 centimeters on top. Okay, next one I want you to try. A marathon is 26.2 miles. I've ran 2 marathons. I don't need to do any more. So knowing that 1 kilometer is 0.62 miles, I want you to set this problem up and figure out how many kilometers that is. Does your conversion factor look the same as mine? Hopefully you got 42.3 kilometers. Let's try this one. A half gallon carton has 64.0 fluid ounces of milk. How many quarts is this? And how many milliliters of milk are in the carton? So I'm asking you to do 2 questions. So pause the video real quick here and try your own calculations. All right. Hopefully yours matches mine. Using the conversion factor of fluid ounces to quarts. So hopefully you got 2 quarts And then if you went right from quarts to milliliters, you might have left off this part and just started with 2 quarts. None of this, not that starting point. You might have started with 2 quarts and then went right to milliliters, and that's okay. If you started from the beginning and did fluid ounces to quarts and then quarts to milliliters, that is perfectly fine too. You would still get the same answer, 1,890 milliliters. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this. Try this practice. A hospital has 125 deciliters of blood plasma. What is this volume in milliliters? So again, I would suggest going from deciliters to liters and then liters to milliliters using that metric chart from the previous slide. So if you would pause, now check. See if yours matches mine. Again, I went deciliters to liters, and I know that for every 1 deci was 0.1 liters. So that got rid of my deciliters. Then I went from liters to milliliters. Every 1 milli was 0.001 liters. So I got 12,500 milliliters. Try these 2-step conversions. If I know the mass of the Earth is 5.98 times 10 to the 24th kilograms, what is that mass in megagrams? So I'm starting with kilo. I would go, I got to get rid of my kilograms, and I want grams. Then I would say, okay, then I got to go from grams to megagrams. Put in a 1 next to my prefixes. Then I'm just plugging it into my calculator. 5.98 times 10 to the 24th times 1,000 divided by 1,000,000. And I should get 5.98 times 10 to the 21st megagrams. And finally, the mass of the moon. What is this mass in nanograms? So I need to go kilograms to grams, grams to nanograms. Hopefully yours looks like mine. Double check. Okay, I need you to pause this video and see if you can answer these last questions of this lecture. Okay, let's double check and see how you did. A mile is larger than the inch. A mile is larger than kilometer. Kilogram is larger than the pound, and the cubic centimeter is equal to a milliliter. And double check your measurements down here to make sure that you got the right answer using dimensional analysis.